And if this thing does well, then we'll hopefully be continuing to write more stories in the Ghostbusting universe.
let's park the dogs metaphorically and literally, and instead I just want to, before we get into Boy Called Christmas, it just seems appropriate that we do sort of wrap up the Ghostbusters chat that we began last time when it was all very secretive. We couldn't really talk about much. I did see you at the multimedia screening, and I'm pretty sure you stayed to watch it at the IMAX cinema in Leicester Square with a packed house. How was it, not just seeing it on a screen that big, but seeing it with a packed audience?
It was a huge rush. It was our first time ever seeing the film play in IMAX. So it was a fresh print. Jason and I had seen the film obviously playing on a big screen before, but never on a screen that big that put you so deep into the action. Both of us came away really excited by what it did for the film, especially the third act and some key sequences in the middle of the film that just were designed and born to play on the largest screen possible. It was super cool. The crowd was great. And I've now had this really interesting experience of having toured with the film since I saw you like a week ago, in 5 other cities in Europe, and seeing it play across different, well, mildly different cultures, but in very different locations. It really is so interesting how an audience activates a film and vice versa, and you never get tired of it, because even though a film is a finished product, right? It's at this point digital media that is fed through a projector onto a screen. It definitely comes alive in a theatrical way because of the quotient of an audience, and it's the thing that we've really missed these last few years. You know, we all of us have been consuming so many stories during the various lockdowns, but the communal act of seeing something with a group of people is so important to the experience that we all associate with, you know, what a movie is. Anyway, so it was awesome. It was amazing, and I'm so proud of the film. I think we're speaking right now as the film is opening in cinemas around the world, so it's a pretty exciting moment.
It really is. I was going to say, like, literally, as we sit here talking, today is the day that Ghostbusters Afterlife opens. Are you tempted? Because I know Jason has talked about how this is a movie that's been made for the fans. Are you at all tempted to jump on social media and just see the reactions as they come in?
You know, almost everyone I know who is on the side of making things likes to pretend like they don't read Twitter and Instagram. But in the exact same way that everyone says that, almost every person I know who makes film or television or writes books is obsessively searching every variation of every hashtag when they put something out into the world, because you know, we would all be lying if we didn't say that we were making things for the consumption, right? We're making things to create a connection with an audience. So, I mean, if my past experience is any guide, I will search sort of in vain for some positive reactions for a couple of days, and then I'll sort of move on to the next thing. But the small handful of people who passionately hate whatever I've created will continue to seek me out and make sure that I know what their opinion is for years to come. So that is the pattern that I'm expecting going into any new release.
So, really, do you think? I mean, I've had that strikes me as surprising.
No, not really. I think that I think that really what will happen is that we made this film for Ghostbusters fans. They have been extremely vocal with their support so far, and both Jason and myself have been really blessed with like extremely kind and generous fan interactions, and that's been across ages, across genders, all over the world. It's amazing how when you turn up to show this film, you almost always have folks in flight suits who have brought their packs to charge in front of the screen like crystals in the moonlight. It's just, you know, I've now seen it. I've seen it in Paris, I've seen it in Amsterdam, seen it in Rome, of course, London, Los Angeles, New York, and I expect all around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it was my first experience of it when we were introducing it at the IMAX, and just all the proton packs lined up at the front there. I mean, some serious kit as well. I thought, sure, they're going to be made out of cardboard. No, maybe wood. Real like metallurgy has gone into those proton packs.
It's an intense culture, and it is a culture. And you know, one of the things that I became struck with when we first started the process of crafting the story that became the film is we were working at the Ghost Corps offices on the Sony lot. And there is a huge framed display in the conference room there, because of course it's also Ivan Reitman's office, and this is this franchise is his baby. And there's this massive framed wall hanging that has local Ghostbuster chapter patches from all over the world. And it is a remarkable assortment of passion and fandom that goes right around the globe. So, you know, you've got Indonesia, you've got Japan, you've got Egypt, Israel, you've got dozens of African countries represented, Russia, straight across through to, of course, all of Europe and the UK. It's daunting, and it's also like exhilarating to see all that stuff.
And now you've made the film, written the film, been involved in the process of shooting the film, promoted the film around the world. It's now out today. Do you feel like you're closing the door on a specific chapter in your filmmaking career?
Well, there's a process that happens when you start showing a film to audiences, like what happened at Leicester Square last week when we were presenting the film together to the audiences. Really, once you start to have those sort of public screenings, a transition happens where the film goes from being something that is yours to something that belongs to the fans or to the audiences, to the world, regardless of what their reaction is, actually. And that's a natural and necessary process, because you're sort of separating this thing that you've been holding. You know, the period of incubation is coming to an end, and so it definitely feels, in a healthy way, like this is now something that has come out of us and gone into the world. Whether it's the end of a chapter in my filmmaking story, that's a little bit harder to answer, because Jason and I continue to write together. And if this thing does well, then we'll hopefully be continuing to write more stories in the Ghostbusting universe. And so we are in very active, detailed conversations about where those stories could go.
Hey, well, I really hope it does well. As I think I told you on the night, I cried, big manly tears, but tears nonetheless. Yeah, it was. I was overcome. I think I walked into it with the expectation that, look, this was a very important film for me in my childhood, as we talked about last time. It was a big deal, Ghostbusters. It's like the first film I remember distinctly like having a passionate response to, having a Ghostbusters baseball hat with the symbol on the front. It was a big deal. And then I expected to be hit by nostalgia, but I don't think I expected it as much. Like it was quite a powerful reaction I had. And from what I've read and from speaking to friends who love the movie as much as me, I am not alone in that.
It's really cool, because it was the feeling that you're describing is the feeling that we had in conceiving this, which is how to channel the same passion and emotion that we associate this moment in our development as people, as movie fans, as Ghostbusters. For me, it's like you, a relationship of seeing something on a big screen that felt really cool and scary and funny and meaningful. For Jason, of course, it's a much more complex relationship. He was the son of the lead Ghostbuster, Ivan Reitman. And so it's all of those same feelings are all tinged with much heavier, deeper, familial strains. And I think that's really part of the key of what makes the film tick, is that as much as it's a story about the Spanglers discovering their connection and confronting their legacy, it's a story about a director confronting his own legacy vis-a-vis his relationship with his father.
Indeed, yeah. Weirdly, and just completely strangely, as a coincidence, obviously we're going to talk a movie that's coming out on Sky Cinema, and for Sky today, I'm doing a little meet and greet with your co-writer and director of Ghostbusters Afterlife, Jason Reitman. So in about 3 hours, I'm going to be looking at him on this very same computer.
That is hilarious. I was just talking to him last night about what he's got going on today, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I think I'm doing some video stuff." I don't think he actually had checked through what the itinerary was. That's really funny because we both had such a great time chatting with you at the London screening. So that's really funny. What a small world.
It really is. It really is. Okay,
or Alex Zane is taking over the world, and it's a one-stop shop for promoting anything in the world.
Literally. Apart from the fact that makes it sound a little bit like I was kicked a brown bag under a table in a restaurant, I don't mind that sentiment. So thank you very much. So, final Ghostbusters question before we start talking Christmas, and I wrap some tinsel around my head. Favorite moment or line from Ghostbusters Afterlife that really you love the most? And hopefully it's spoiler free, because I'm still being really careful about spoilers.
Okay. Favorite moment. I'm just gonna say random things that I've been noticing in the screening the last couple of times. And this is an evolving thing, because when you watch a movie 20 times, you start picking up actually random things while you're watching it. I love the moment when Gary Gruberson hits play on his TV VCR machine in the classroom, not just for what is on the screen, which I don't want to spoil for the audience, but because the particular cut of what is on the screen is so insane and ridiculous that I can't stop laughing when I see a particular shot. I'm just going to say it. He hits play on a film that he found in the teacher's lounge. It happens to be Cujo for his summer school class. And there is one moment in that sequence that plays on the screen where Cujo is going after a little bunny in a field, and I think it's like one of the funniest juxtaposition of moments, because of the way that like it's such an over the top beat on the screen, and then you cut to the class and they're so nonplussed. And I just love that interplay. So, and I also love what it does for the film, because it's the movie getting into the next gear in terms of its tone, a comedy. So yeah, that's a particular favorite moment.
It's a great moment. I think that sequence in Cujo was shot by Jan de Bont, wasn't it, as well? It's quite a cool sequence.
It's really cool. It's got beautiful storytelling. I mean, it's intense, but I actually didn't know that Jan de Bont shot it. That's so cool. Yeah. That's rad. I'm gonna name a couple of other things just while we've got the mic open about it. I've become a real fan of Finn Wolfhard's physical performance, and it's very subtle. But now, having seen the film a bunch of times, he is able to channel, mostly because he was going through it, the sort of puppy gangliness of teenagehood. And some of the ways that he moves across the screen in this film are so well observed. There's one particular moment where he's just moving through the yard looking for old beat up wrecks that he could get turned on, and he happens to get ensnared in a tree with some hanging bottles in it, and it's a totally ridiculous bit of business. Like, you would never write that down, but he does it in such a casual way that I can't help but be totally tickled by it. So I love it. Favorite line? Well, that's a tricky thing to ask of a screenwriter, because you're basically asking me to point a loaded
Analyze and compliment
pistol
yourself.
at all of my children hanging around me. I do really love the moment where Phoebe and Podcast cement their friendship as they're walking home from school. It's a scene rather than one line, but I love the moment where Podcast, who's an outsider kid, just like we were outsider kids, makes a brave decision to ask Phoebe if she'll be his lab partner, and she says, "I don't think we're going to be doing much labs, but sure." And I think that the bridge that's built between those two characters in that moment feels so sturdy at that point. I just feel like I'm so invested in their relationship, and it's a joy to watch every time.
I think it's Logan who plays Podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
That young actor. I watched him. Obviously, he's great as Podcast, but I watched him on the stage, the New York Comic Con. You were there as well. Man, that kid is going to go far. He's got like this natural sort of comedy timing and like very confident, but like he delivers like some gags on that during that Q&A that you're like, whoa.
He walked out onto the set the very first time with like all the confidence in the world that all of us struggle to attain through a lifetime in show business. And he just strolled in. He's like, "All right, where's my key camera? What light am I playing to? What do we got here? What's the business?" And just nailed every beat. He's a genius.
Congratulations on Ghostbusters. Right, look. Hello, Alex here. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with us at all, for any reason, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at JTFpod. And don't forget to subscribe to the full audio podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods.